Okay, folks, let's get started with the more exciting stuff, soldering. So here I got my Venn converter ribbon, version 1. Here's my old Kiwi's guts. Really must compliment Nintendo on really streamlining the boards from the DMG down to just this one single motherboard and one little daughter board for the power supply. But I give this thing a nice alcohol bath. It's still a little damp in places from the alcohol, but that can't really be helped without getting some canned air or something. So, yeah. So if I'm looking at pictures and directions right, this tab here will have to go into the motherboard here. And that should be the easiest part of this whole thing. Yeah, fix it in nice and snug, and then I just clamp it back down in. If I can, come on. Maybe I should get a spudger from my breakdown kit. There. Oh. There we go. Start on the left. It'll be easier. So, in here we have 2 points right here we need to solder. And then there should be a spot labeled on here, clock. It's in this, right here. I hope his next run of ribbons has better printing on them. And that's got to go to this chip here, which is going to be a little bit tricky to work in there. I think Venn must have some tiny hands. So let's see. BL1 and 2 need to get soldered down into this area. So bear with me if I'm not talking all that much while doing this. I'm working with really small components. I don't have the steadiest of hands. Good thing I'm not a surgeon. And let's see. BL1 has to go to ground. Well, looks like I have actually a couple choices for BL1 to ground. There's actually a few different spots. It looks like in his example on his website, he decided to go all the way down to the power supply section for sake of symmetry. And I do have some rather long wires here I could work with. So, I don't want to do this. I'm in favor of making as short a possible connection as possible, so that way it makes it easier to wire manage. This is going to be sitting right directly on top of the CPU. Hope that doesn't cause any heating issues. Let me look at his completed design. Okay. Now that is going to be really tricky to solder in there. Shit. Wish I could see in his example picture where he put in that resistor that needs to go in. And why is there... A needs to go to... Okay, so A definitely has to go to P4. Down on the power supply area. Okay. So I'm going to start there first. Actually, let's see if I can tin this. feel the need to comment that illumination is your best friend when doing soldering work, especially on small components. If I twisted strand. Damn it. It is really tight working here. I'm trying my best not to cross any of the connections down there, and it's not proving easy. There we go. Okay, this looks like it might be working. It wasn't as clean as when I said, here we go, but I noticed that there's a copper coil where that 0.5 is. I don't know if you can read it. And my lead on my wire was a bit thick, or long rather. So I did not want to, and I don't think I would be able to get any heat shrink tubing down there easily to make sure it's properly insulated. So now I attach this to BL1, I think. Nope, BL2. There's a typo in the directions. Okay. Oh, better twist this one too. Oops. Don't yank too hard, folks. God, I wish this was solid core wire instead of stranded. It'd be so much easier. Need a little bit more solder there, I think. Just in case you're curious about the settings on my soldering iron, I have it set to 650 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very high temperature to work with, but I prefer an instant melt with a, and then pull out than a slow heat up, because then it's less heat transferred to the board overall, or whatever other components may be nearby, that instead of a lower temperature melt. Also, the solder I work with is made by Kester, and they recommend 600 to 650 degrees when working with their Premier. There we go. With their Premier lead tin solder. Maybe if I hold it this way, I'd have an easier time. Yeah, maybe I should just held it this way from the beginning. Okay, that's one wire connected. So the next one needs to be BL1 to ground. And there's a few different places that this can be done. I'm not sure which I want to use yet. So I am trying to twist the strands on these wires and put a little tin on them. What you don't see on screen is I'm not using a sponge to clean the tip. I have one of these wire flux ball things, and I love it. Unfortunately, this is gonna be the tough one. Oh shoot! This one was the wire I just was supposed to have the SMD resistor. Shoot! That means I gotta undo the wire, and I gotta use this tiny thing. How am I supposed to work with this? Alright. I think the only reasonable place I can work with that is on the ribbon. Man, I don't even know if I have a soldering tip small enough to work with this. Alright, I need tweezers. Give me a sec. This is not going to be as easy as I thought it was going to be. Actually, I didn't think it was going to be easy much at all. Alright, got that tacked in place. I'm going to add some solder to it. I think I actually did it. Holy shit. It's the most awkward component I've ever done, but yeah, Ben, if you watch this, please just include an axial resistor next time. Okay, so BL2 is connected. Okay, let's do the clock location. Which is in the corner right here. Where's my third wire? I swear I prepped the third wire before I turned the camera on. Okay, bear with me. I gotta prep another wire. Actually, I'm gonna cut this wire down first, then prep it. All right. This one should not be very hard to attach to the ribbon, at least. Like I said, I don't have the steadiest of hands. Also, the tip's dirty again. Oh, come on. Wish the solder would stay on the tip of the tip instead of trying to ball up around the middle of the tip. There. Now, Ben, when he did it, managed to get his solder point down in here, but I'm not sure if I want to do it that way, because that is where the least amount of small SMD components are. So that would be the spot where I could expect the least amount of damage to occur if I'm stupid. It didn't specify which part of the lead it had to get soldered to, just that it has to get soldered to it. So I'm going to go for the one that has the empty, does it have a little SMT component next to it? I need a third hand or something to make this easier. Okay, I need solder. More solder. Sorry if I'm not giving you the best camera angles, but my goal out of this is a functional backlit Gameboy color, not necessarily a good video. And do not take this as a how-to either. Ah! Fuck. Because things like that happen. What I need to do is put some solder in place first, then get the wire into it. And it's just pulling up on the tip of my soldering iron. It sucks. Probably need a smaller tip. Yeah, I think I have some smaller tips, so I'm going to pause this and let the iron cool off for a bit and swap tips. See you soon. Turns out I'm already working with my smallest tip, so I got to make do. Okay, I think I actually did it. Let me you're not going to be able to see much for a second, so let me look at this closely. I actually did make a connection, I think. Okay. That was a pain in the ass. And I never thought the stupid micro resistor would have been the hardest part. Nope. Alright. So, now I think is the point where we try and hook everything all together. No, wait. I'm missing one more wire. I got excited for a minute. So, let's see. Right, I need to bring BL1 to a ground. Where is a good ground? Okay, there's actually a lot of grounds I can work with. There's two next to the power switch, and then, of course, there's the big gold blobs over here that I could work with. And those are fairly safe to use because we removed all the screw posts around there, so they're not going to interfere with anything. And I think I am, in this case, going to go for the easy way out. Although, it would be less elegant than coming all the way down here to the power supply. But I really don't want to do any more work in there because I might screw up a wire. So I'm going to trim this wire down. Oop, that fell on the floor. Pardon me. Come on. Come on. Come on. Where are you? There you are. That's all dusty. Yum. All right. Did I make this long enough? Or did I just screw myself again? Okay, it's going to be long enough. Might not be easy to work with, but it's long enough. There we go. Oh, I don't need that little resistor holder anymore. And now to mount you. Oh, come on, I'm dropping everything now. Likes to stick to my soldering iron more than it likes to stick to whatever I'm soldering. It's supremely annoying. Let's see if I can add a little bit more solder to that. Crap. I was afraid that was going to happen. There we go. That actually looks like the most professional part of the entire project. So that should be it for soldering. So I'm going to turn this off. Although I might undo my speaker replacement. It's just, I don't know what it is about the Game Boy Advance / Game Boy Color replacement speakers, but I do not think they output at the same wattage as the original speakers, and they just don't sound as good. But my old speaker is currently filled with alcohol at the moment, so I'm going to have to wait on putting that back in. And yeah, that's okay. That's still got enough room to lay flat. That's going to lay flat. This will be around here. It's too long, but whatever. I can always stuff it somewhere. All right. So I'm going to try and do a power on test with everything naked-ish. Okay, so let's see. I probably could have snugged that in a little bit tighter, but it'll do. Wish there was an easier way to jump the batteries and have to put the entire back case back in. Back case back in. That's a stupid way of saying it. Oops. Yeah. Be gentler than I am, kids. This new case seems to be very snug around the battery terminals. So that's making things a little bit more difficult to put back in. Alright, a couple double A's. Besides, I only really need them in there enough to make a connection. Alright, let me check the camera and see if you guys can see. That's better. So, hey! Hey, it's working! But I got some sort of feedback. And maybe a couple of stuck pixels. But as long as they're not in the playable area, yeah, I think this just might work. I wonder if you guys can hear that feedback. Alright, I'm going to have to diagnose that. I think it's coming from the speaker, though. Alright, all that's really left for me to do is figure out what's causing that audio problem. And I'm going to pop a glass lens into this for superior clarity. And I'll get this edited up for you real quick. I'm probably going to do a lot of redubbing because the camera was not pointed at my face at all, and unfortunately my video recording software did not pick up on my actual proper microphone. So I'll see you guys next time.